Today's lesson is about half-angle identities. In the IB booklet, they didn't give you the formula, especially for half-angle identities. We will use this to figure out the formula. Let's look at this formula. Cosine 2 theta equals 2 cosine squared theta minus 1. We will figure out this cosine theta. Therefore, you add 1 both sides. You will get the cosine 2 theta plus 1. Then you divide it by 2 both sides. So that you will get the cosine squared theta equals. Let me write down here 1 plus cosine 2 theta over 2. Then we will do square root both sides. You will get the cosine theta equals plus or minus square root 1 plus cosine 2 theta over 2. For this formula, we will add 2 sine squared theta both sides and then subtract cosine 2 theta both sides. You will get the 2 sine squared theta equals 1 minus cosine 2 theta. Then we divide it by 2 both sides. You will get the sine squared theta equals 1 minus cosine 2 theta over 2. Then sine theta equals plus or minus square root. You will have 1 minus cosine 2 theta over 2. We call these two formula half-angle identities. In other words, if you know trig function of theta, you can figure out trig function of theta over 2. If you know trig function of theta over 2, you can figure out trig function of theta over 4, and so on. Let's look at other form. For cosine theta over 2, you will get plus or minus square root 1 plus cosine theta over 2. Just double this angle, theta over 2. Sine theta over 2 equals plus or minus square root 1 minus cosine theta over 2. So keep going. Cosine theta over 4 equals plus or minus square root 1 plus cosine theta over 2, then over 2. For sine theta over 4 equals plus or minus square root 1 minus cosine theta over 2, then over 2. From these half-angle identities, as long as you know cosine, then you can get its trig function of a half-angle. Let's go to part 4. Find the exact values of cosine alpha over 2, sine alpha over 2, cosine alpha over 4, sine alpha over 4, and assume they are all positive. When cosine alpha equals negative 9 over 32. Remember that for half-angle identities, as long as we know cosine, we can figure all this out. Therefore, we don't have to figure out sine alpha, tangent alpha, and so on. We will just use this cosine alpha equals negative 9 over 32 to work out the cosine alpha over 2. It equals, because this is all positive, So we do 1 plus cosine alpha over 2. Then we plug in. You will get 1 minus 9 over 32 over 2. So we will multiply by 32 top and bottom. You will get square root. Denominator is 64. Then do the distributive property here. You will get 32 minus 9. That equals square root. 32 minus 9, that is 23 over 64. You will get square root of 23 over 8. For sine alpha over 2, you will get positive 1 minus cosine alpha over 2, so that you will get 1 minus negative 9 over 32. So we change the sign here, then over 2. Same thing, we will multiply by 32, top and bottom. Your denominator is 64, so you get the 8. Look at the top, you will get square root 32 plus 9. That is a square root of 41 over 8. Then for cosine alpha over 4, you will get square root 1 plus cosine alpha over 2, then over 2, so that you will get 1 plus, this is a cosine alpha over 2, so that you will get the square root 23 over 8, then over 2. So top and bottom, we multiply by 8. Square root of 16 as a denominator. Then top, that will be 8 plus square root of 23. So we simplify. Denominator is 4. Square root 8 plus square root of 23. Now let's go to sine alpha over 4. That equals the square root 1 minus cosine alpha over 2, then over 2. Basically, you just need to change this sign into minus. That will be your answer. So you get the 8 minus square root of 23 over 4. Let's go to question 2. For number 2, you will get the cosine alpha to the reciprocal of secant alpha. That is 3 over 8. Cosine alpha over 2 equals, we'll assume all this is positive. So we will get 1 plus cosine alpha over 2. So we plug in. That is 1 plus 3 over 8 over 2. So top and bottom, we need to multiply by 8. Then you will get square root. This is a distributive property. That is 8 plus 3 over 16. Square root of 11 over 4. That is a cosine alpha over 2. So for sine alpha over 2 equals square root 1 minus cosine alpha over 2. So you get, here's over 2, 1 minus 3 over 8. Then we multiply by 8, top and bottom. you will get square root. Distributive property, you will get the 8 minus 3 over 16. That you will get 4 square root of 5. Let's go to cosine alpha over 4 equals square root 1 plus cosine alpha over 2, then over 2. So this is a over 2, 1 plus square root of 11 over 4. Multiply by 4 top and bottom. You will get square root. Top will be 4 plus square root of 11, then over 8. We want to take out this 8. You have to multiply by 2, top and bottom. Therefore, you will get square root. Here's 16. 8 plus 2 square root of 11. That equals square root of 8 plus 2 square root of 11 over 16. Square root of 16 will be 4. For sine alpha over 4, you will get the square root. 1 minus cosine alpha over 2, then over 2. You just need to change this sign so that you will get denominator is 4 square root 8 minus 2 square root of 11.